In today's Christmas video, we're going to be going back and having a look at the McFarlane Toys Twisted Xmas. This is Rudolph. So let's see how tall Rudolph is, taking the tape measure and putting it next to him. If you count only to the top of his head, Rudolph is a 5.5-inch tall figure. However, of course, you have to include the antlers. He wouldn't be Rudolph without his antlers. Well, that's not true. He wouldn't be Rudolph without his red nose, but antlers go a long way as well. With those antlers, Rudolph is closer to 7.5 inches in height. Rudolph gets an accessory base as well as a very large axe. Dig in the look of this axe. I love how it's got that kind of hammered out, forged look to it, where you can see all like the little dents and stuff added to the blade itself. It looks like it's been very crudely thrown together, comprised of probably a giant log's branch or log wooden handle, and then they've got the really cool decorative looking bottom base to it. We've got these little tiny evergreen trees, and you've got like little sleigh bell straps, little sleigh bell ropes there that have been incorporated into it. It looks like they have little studs to them, which is kind of neat as well. Even like the handle looks like it's been hammered out. As you can see, like little dents and stuff in it. It's got a slight rusted look to it. Very, very slight rusted look to it, but I think it really adds to making it look like it's an old forged weapon. To get it into his hand, you have to detach the bottom portion of it and then slide it through his hand and then attach the bottom like that. I'll show you that in a second. But let's first have a look at the base that he comes included with as well. It's a very subtle looking base. There's not really a whole lot going on. It's still incorporating the undercolor of blue and then kind of brushed on top of that in white, giving it kind of a snowy look to it. Got a couple of rocks, and hold on a second. We've got ourselves a frosted, frozen over remains of a skull, which either looks like it's been trampled on or it looks like it's been taken a huge bite out of the top there. I do like that they added a little bit of like a muddy brown to the area where the foot pegs into place or hoof plugs into place. And then you got that around the skull there as well. There's the underside. It's dated for 2007 as well, in case you were wondering how old these are. The figure, unfortunately, doesn't really do the greatest of job standing without the display stand. Unlike, say, the likes of good old Saint Nick. Trying to think of another one that actually stood quite well. I think Jack Frost stood well, and also, of course, the Snowman, Frosty, stood well too. Rudolph, unfortunately, is a little bit trickier to kind of get him to balance. A lot of times, what I'm doing right now is your best route. You have to kind of lean him forward for it to stand properly. So, of course, hold on to the stand. Make sure you don't lose it. All right, so let's have a look at Rudolph here. Really fun-looking figure. Of course, the big identifiable feature for Rudolph here is his giant mouth. I mean, that's a good sized mouth. You could fit a small child in there. That could certainly fit over top of Santa's head. Maybe he's even taken off a piece of Santa, and that's why maybe he wears the mask. Yeah, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of imagination goes a long way. Love the multiple rows of teeth. Very similar to what we got with Frosty. In this case, though, it's very, very small series of teeth, even up on the top and on the bottom. Small little rows. Well, I guess rows can't be measured by size, but multiple rows of very, very small teeth. The tongue doesn't have it, but I do like that the internal mouth, the jaw area, and underneath the tongue has been given like a wet coat, a little wet sheen, looking as if it's actually saliva or spit. Yummy. The head sculpt is, again, really, really good. It's slightly jarring because it's got the mouth as big as it does. Because I want to look at really only like this part of the head, and the head doesn't look complete, and then you're like, oh, right, yeah, because the bottom jaw is down here as well. But it really does look quite good. He doesn't have a red nose, so this guy ain't pulling any sleigh. Even if he was asked, I don't think he would be asked, but he probably would decline and then slaughter many of the elves, whoever asked him. He's got the antlers on the top that have to be installed. I've already gone ahead and done that. And the antlers have some nice aged look to it. Got some bit of a cream color, and then they've got just a little bit Just a little bit of like white, kind of like just sprinkled. Ooh, magical, sprinkled in there as well. There's really a lot to look at this figure, and I love that he's got wrapped Christmas lights all over his body. Smaller on the one arm, larger on the other arm, and alternating that on the opposite legs as well. So smaller and smaller. I do really like these larger bulbs too. And then he's got like sleigh bells on his hooves, on his lower legs area here. And they got some really nice texture work here also. A little bit of grays added to it to an otherwise red presentation. Figure does look really good, especially these. I think my favorite aspect of the whole figure is this part here, where he's got the harness that's been attached to him, and then he's got these giant sleigh bells wrapping around his arms. They're a little bit on a softer appliance. I wouldn't, obviously this has been glued in place, so don't be taking that off. And then he's got these interesting like braided fur pieces, which I guess are longer areas of his back mane that has been braided out. And they've got little beads on the ends of it. Very neat looking design on Rudolph here. As we looked at the beginning of this review, go ahead and take his axe, and we'll go ahead and slide. I want to just kind of move the hand out of the way. Slide it down, and it sits actually quite loose. And then when you get to the bottom of it, just attach that part like so. And like I said, the axe unfortunately does sit a little on the loose side. The best thing you can kind of do is, well, I was going to say place it in an area where it wouldn't sit so loose. Ultimately, what you may have to do, not knock the antler off in the process, is slightly angle the axe like kind of to the side, so that you got a little bit of the handle kind of brushing up against the leg portion, so it keeps it from sliding out of place. And then we can go ahead and take the antler, put that back in the head like so. And then you got Rudolph looking very, very cool. There's the back of him as well. As old as the figure is, McFarlane still did wonders here when it came to the fur. The fur really has some nice sculpting to it, which he equally did as well for the Twisted Land of Oz when he did the Cowardly Lion, which had some really great fur work added there as well. He is certainly one of the more colorful looking characters. A nice stark contrast to, say, the likes of the Snowman and Jack Frost, of course, that had more paler colors. I think he has one of the more colorful presentations on this particular figure. Now, when it comes to his posability, he doesn't really have a whole lot. Of course, his head can't do any motion and movement because it's sculpted into the rest of his torso. The arms do hinge, but very, very slightly. And the hands rotate. No waist articulation. This hand also rotates. The blasted axe is about the only thing that is the frustration to this figure. Between it sitting extremely loose and the fact that that bottom part, the part of it, always falls off, that's about the only thing that really frustrates me about this particular figure. He does have leg articulation, but again, because his leg is kind of pre-bent, even if you have leg articulation, there's not going to be a whole lot that you can do with the figure. Yeah, see, like again, like would you bring it out like that? Not necessarily. And then this leg here just rotates. So leg articulation, arm articulation, just overall, all the articulation. Let me just pick up the bottom of the axe here. All the articulation on this guy is as what you would expect, pretty limited. And yeah, see that? I would say I would want to just glue it. Obviously, I don't want to glue that in place permanently, just in case I decide I want to take it out. But that's the most frustrating aspect of Rudolph. I love the figure, but man, the axe is such a pain in the butt. have him standing in a certain way, and you definitely have to celebrate the holiday season, or maybe just don't want to see holiday stuff all December long, don't worry, there's still going to be regular videos happening on this channel as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. As you always do, if you haven't had a chance, also just hit that little subscribe button below this video. Make sure you hit that little button, it says subscribe, and never miss a beat when it comes to future videos. As always, guys, thanks for watching. As you always do, I'll see you next time.